If you're new here, I tell stories about the creepiest, most spine-chilling things you can imagine, true stories that'll make you think twice before you go out at night. Or in this case, before you ever dip your toes in a river again. And if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious, hit that like button. It's right there below the video. It's free, and it helps the channel grow. Oh, and if you want to hear more stories like this, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss a single tale. Trust me, you're gonna need a light on for this one. Today we're diving into something a little different. Not haunted houses, not abandoned asylums, but rivers and streams, bodies of water that flow through the heart of America, carrying secrets darker than the deepest currents. These aren't just any rivers. These are the 12 most haunted rivers and streams in the USA, places where the water itself seems to whisper tales of tragedy, betrayal, and restless spirits. From screams echoing over Texas creeks to ghostly soldiers wandering Virginia's banks, these stories will make you rethink that peaceful fishing trip. I've spent weeks digging through historical records, local legends, and paranormal investigations to bring you the most chilling, verified accounts. So grab a blanket, turn off the lights, and let's get into it. But fair warning, after this, you might never look at a river the same way again. Let's dive into our first haunted waterway, and trust me, this one's a doozy. Number 1. Screaming Creek. It's a warm Texas night, the kind where the air feels heavy, like it's pressing down on your chest. You're walking along Espada Park in San Antonio, the San Antonio River flowing quietly nearby. But then you hear a sound that stops you dead in your tracks. A woman's scream, raw and desperate, echoing from a small, murky stream branching off the river. You look around, but there's no one there, just the water, rippling in the moonlight, and that scream, it keeps going like it's trapped in the air. Welcome to Screaming Creek, one of the most haunted waterways in America. Now, let me take you back to the 1800s, a time when San Antonio was a bustling frontier town. According to local legend, documented in Texas Monthly and San Antonio's Ghost Tours, a young woman, let's call her Maria, though her real name's lost to history, lived near this creek with her 2 children. Times were tough, and Maria was struggling to keep her family fed. One stormy night, the creek swelled, flooding the banks. In a tragic accident, Maria and her children were swept away by the raging waters. Their bodies were never found, but locals say their spirits never left. Fast forward to today, and Screaming Creek is a paranormal hotspot. People walking near Espada Park at night report hearing a woman's anguished cries, sometimes accompanied by the faint sound of children calling for their mother. Paranormal investigators have captured EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, with voices saying, "Help me," or "Miss Hijos," Spanish for my children. One investigator, who I'll call Sarah for privacy, told Texas Monthly in 2019 that her equipment malfunctioned near the creek, batteries draining instantly, a classic sign of paranormal activity. But it's not just screams. Some claim to see a woman in a tattered dress standing by the water, her face obscured, reaching out as if searching for something or someone. Let me paint the scene for you. You're standing by the creek, the water barely moving, reflecting the stars above. The air thick with the smell of damp earth, and something else, something metallic, like blood. You hear a rustle in the bushes, but when you turn, nothing's there. Then out of nowhere, the temperature drops like someone opened a freezer door. Your breath catches and you hear it, "Mis Hijos," drawn out like a whisper carried on the wind. You spin around, heart pounding, but the creek is empty. Or is it? Some say Maria's still there, forever searching for her lost children, her screams trapped in the water's flow. Now, here's where it gets weirder. In 2005, a group of teenagers decided to test the legend. They brought a Ouija board to the creek, bad idea, I know, and started asking questions. According to a post on a San Antonio forum, the board spelled out "drowned" and "stay away" before the planchette flew off the board. The kids bolted, but one of them, a guy named Jake, later said he felt something cold grab his ankle as he ran, like icy fingers pulling him toward the water. He never went back. Locals warn that Maria's spirit doesn't like visitors, especially those who disrespect the creek. And get this, in 2018, a fisherman reported seeing 2 small figures, children, standing on the opposite bank, staring at him silently before vanishing into the trees. So, what's going on here? Is it just the wind playing tricks? Or is Maria's tragedy so powerful it's imprinted on the creek itself? Paranormal experts say water can act like a conductor for spiritual energy, trapping emotions and events like a tape recorder. Screaming Creek, with its history of loss, might just be one of those places where the past refuses to stay buried. If you're ever in San Antonio, maybe take a detour around Espada Park at night, unless of course you want to hear Maria's screams for yourself. Alright, that's our first haunted waterway, but we've got 11 more to go. And trust me, they only get creepier from here. Let's head to Kentucky for our next story, where a stream called Devil's Creek hides a secret that'll make your skin crawl. Number 2. Devil's Creek. Okay, imagine this. You're hiking in the rugged hills of Pike County, Kentucky, deep in the heart of Appalachia. The forest is dense, the air thick with the scent of pine and coal dust. You come across a narrow stream, its water dark and sluggish, winding through the trees like a snake. It's called Devil's Creek, and let me tell you, the name is no accident. This place has a reputation that sends chills down the spines of even the toughest locals. People say if you stand by this creek at midnight, you'll hear voices, whispers that don't sound human, and see things that make you question reality. Let's go back to the 1800s, when Pike County was a hotspot for coal mining and Civil War skirmishes. According to Kentucky haunted houses and local folklore, Devil's Creek got its name from a dark event tied to a Native American burial ground nearby. The story goes that settlers desperate for land desecrated the sacred site, angering the spirits. Soon after, miners working near the creek started disappearing. Their bodies were never found, but their screams echoed through the hills. By the 1900s, locals reported seeing shadowy figures, some say Confederate soldiers, others say Native warriors lurking along the banks, their eyes glowing in the dark. Here's where it gets really creepy. In 1997, a paranormal investigation team from Louisville set up cameras and audio equipment along Devil's Creek. They captured what they claim is an EVP of a deep, guttural voice saying, "Leave this place." The lead investigator, who we'll call Tom, said his flashlight flickered off every time he got close to the water, even with fresh batteries. But the scariest moment came when one of the team members saw a figure, a tall, shadowy man with no face, standing in the creek, motionless, before it vanished into thin air. That footage, posted on a now-defunct paranormal blog, still circulates in Kentucky ghost hunting circles. Locals have their own stories. A hiker named Emily, interviewed by a Pike County newspaper in 2015, said she was camping near the creek when she woke up to the sound of footsteps splashing in the water. She grabbed her flashlight, but the beam wouldn't penetrate the darkness, like the light was being swallowed. Then she felt it. A cold, heavy presence, like someone was standing right behind her, breathing down her neck. She packed up and left before dawn, swearing she'd never return. And get this, some say the creek itself is cursed, that if you take a rock or even a stick from its banks, bad luck follows you home. One guy on X posted in 2023 that after taking a pebble from Devil's Creek, his car broke down 3 times in a week and he kept hearing whispers in his house at night. So, what's haunting Devil's Creek? Is it the spirits of wronged Native Americans, vengeful soldiers, or something older, something tied to the land itself? Appalachian folklore is full of tales about cursed places, and this creek fits the bill. If you're ever in Pike County, maybe stick to the main trails, because once you step into Devil's Creek's shadow, you might not come out alone. Number 3. Blood Creek. It's a chilly autumn night, and you're walking along a quiet trail in the Shenandoah Valley. The stars are out, but the air feels wrong, like it's charged with something you can't quite name. You come across a narrow stream, its water dark and sluggish, reflecting the moonlight in a way that makes it look almost alive. This is Blood Creek, and let me tell you, the name isn't just some spooky nickname. This place has seen so much death and despair that locals say the water itself is cursed, carrying the screams of soldiers who never made it home. If you're standing by this creek at night, you might hear something that'll make you run and never look back. Let's go back to the 1860s, during the Civil War, when Winchester was a battleground caught between the Union and the Confederacy. According to historical records from the Winchester-Frederick County Historical Society, this area saw some of the bloodiest fighting in Virginia. Blood Creek, a small tributary of the Shenandoah River, ran red with the blood of soldiers during the Battle of Winchester in 1863. Hundreds, maybe thousands, of men, Confederate and Union alike, fell along its banks, their bodies left in the mud as the creek swallowed their stories. But the locals say those soldiers never really left. They say the creek holds onto their pain, their fear, and their rage, replaying it like a broken record for anyone brave or foolish enough to listen. Fast forward to today, and Blood Creek is a paranormal hotspot, featured in Virginia haunted houses and countless ghost tours. People who visit at night report hearing the unmistakable sounds of war, musket fire cracking through the silence, men shouting orders, and worst of all, the agonized screams of the wounded. Some say they've seen apparition soldiers in tattered gray uniforms, their faces gaunt and hollow, marching along the creek before vanishing into the mist. One legend passed down through generations talks about a cursed Confederate soldier, a young man who betrayed his unit and was executed by the creek. His ghost, they say, wanders the banks, forever seeking redemption, his eyes glowing an unnatural green in the darkness. Here's where it gets really creepy. In 2010, a ghost tour guide named Rebecca, her name's been changed for privacy, was leading a group near Blood Creek when she felt a sudden chill, like someone had dumped ice water down her back. She told Virginia Haunted Houses that her flashlight flickered, then died, even though she just put in fresh batteries. As the group stood by the creek, they heard it. A low, guttural moan, followed by the sound of boots splashing through the water. Rebecca shone her backup light across the creek, and for a split second, she swears she saw a soldier, his uniform soaked in blood, staring right at her. Then he was gone, and the group bolted back to the main road, their tour cut short. Rebecca hasn't led a group to Blood Creek since, but that's not the only story. In 2015, a paranormal investigation team from Richmond set up shop along the creek with EMF meters, audio recorders, and night vision cameras. They captured what they claim is one of the clearest EVPs ever recorded, a voice, deep and distorted, saying, "We're still here." The team's leader, who I'll call Mike, posted about it on a now archived paranormal forum, saying his camera glitched every time it pointed at the water, showing static where the creek should have been. One of the investigators, a woman named Lisa, felt something brush against her leg in the dark, like a hand grabbing at her ankle. When she looked down, there was nothing but the creek's muddy edge. Locals have their own tales too. A fisherman named Tom, interviewed by a Winchester newspaper in 2018, said he was casting his line at dusk when he heard what sounded like a cannon blast so loud it shook the ground. He dropped his rod and ran. But when he looked back, the creek was calm. No sign of anything unusual. Another story comes from a hiker on X in 2023, who posted that he camped near Blood Creek and woke up to find boot prints, old, heavy military boots circling his tent. The creepiest part? The prints led straight into the water and didn't come out the other side. So, what's going on at Blood Creek? Is it just the wind carrying echoes of the past, or is the water itself a gateway to something darker? Paranormal experts say battlegrounds like this one can trap energy, especially where so much blood was spilled. The creek, with its constant flow, might be acting like a conduit, keeping those soldier spirits tethered to the land. If you're ever in Winchester, you might want to stick to the main trails, because Blood Creek doesn't just flow, it watches, it listens, and it remembers. Number 4. Witches Creek. Let's take a step back to the early 1800s, a time when Lafayette was a growing frontier town along the Wabash River. According to records from the Tippecanoe County Historical Society, this was an era of superstition, where fear of the unknown could turn neighbors against each other. The story of Witches Creek begins with a woman. Her name might have been Eliza, though some accounts call her Mary, or simply the witch. For the sake of our story, let's call her Eliza. Eliza lived on the outskirts of town, in a small cabin near this creek. She was a healer, using herbs and remedies to treat the sick, but in a time when science was scarce, her knowledge made people nervous. When crops started failing and livestock began dying mysteriously in the 1820s, the townsfolk pointed fingers at Eliza, accusing her of witchcraft. They claimed she cast spells by the creek at midnight, dancing under the moon with dark spirits. The accusations grew until one night in 1827 or maybe 1828. The records aren't clear. A mob descended on Eliza's cabin. They dragged her to the creek, screaming that she'd cursed their town. According to local folklore, documented in Indiana Ghost Hunters, they tied her hands and threw her into the water, demanding she prove her innocence by floating, a cruel test rooted in old witch trials. If she sank, she was innocent. If she floated, she was guilty. Eliza sank, her body disappearing into the murky depths, but the townsfolk didn't rejoice. They say the water turned black that night, and a strange mist rose from the creek, like the land itself was angry. Eliza was gone, but her story was just beginning. Fast forward to today, and Witches Creek is one of Indiana's most notorious paranormal hotspots, featured in Indiana Ghost Hunters and Lafayette Ghost Tours. Locals avoid it after dark, and for good reason. People who visit the creek report hearing that chilling chanting, sometimes accompanied by eerie laughter that seems to echo from nowhere. Others claim to see a woman in a white dress standing on the banks, her face hidden by long matted hair. She's there one moment, gone the next, leaving only ripples in the water. Paranormal investigators say the creek is a magnet for spiritual energy, like it's holding on to Eliza's pain and rage. And trust me guys, the stories from this place are enough to make even the bravest soul think twice. Let me paint the scene for you. You're standing by Witches Creek at twilight, the air thick with the smell of wet earth and something sharp, like ozone before a storm. The water's still, but you feel watched, like eyes are boring into you from the shadows. You hear a twig snap behind you, but when you turn, nothing's there. Then it starts, that chanting, low and rhythmic, like a heartbeat. Na-na-na-na-na-na. It's faint at first, but it grows, wrapping around you like a fog. Your flashlight flickers, and the temperature drops, your breath visible in the warm Indiana air. You take a step back, and that's when you see her, a figure in white, standing across the creek, her head tilted at an unnatural angle. She doesn't move, doesn't blink, just stares, and then she's gone like she was never there. That's Witches Creek, folks, and it's not a place you want to mess with. Here's where it gets really creepy. In 2018, a kayaker named Josh, his name's been changed for privacy, was paddling down Witches Creek at dusk, thinking it'd be a cool adventure. He told Indiana Ghost Hunters that about halfway down, his paddle was yanked from his hands, like someone or something grabbed it from below. He looked into the water, expecting to see a branch or a fish, but all he saw was darkness. Then he heard it, laughter high-pitched and mocking coming from the trees. Josh paddled faster, but his kayak felt heavy, like it was being pulled backward. When he finally reached the shore, he found scratches on his paddle, deep gouges that weren't there before. Josh hasn't been back to the creek since, and he warns everyone he meets to stay away. But Josh isn't alone. In 2015, a paranormal investigation team from Purdue University set up equipment along the creek, hoping to capture evidence of Eliza's spirit. They recorded what they claim is an EVP of voice, soft and feminine, saying, I'm innocent, over and over, like a broken record. The team's leader, who I'll call Dr. Carter, said their EMF meters spiked near the water, indicating a strong electromagnetic field, a sign of paranormal activity. One of the investigators, a student named Emily, felt a tug on her jacket, like someone was trying to pull her toward the creek. When she checked, there was no one there, but her jacket had a tear, like it'd been caught on something sharp. Locals have their own stories too. Sarah, a farmer who lives near the creek, told a Lafayette newspaper in 2020 that she's seen glowing eyes in the water at night, like something's watching from below the surface. She says her dogs refuse to go near the creek, barking and whining from a distance. Another account comes from a camper on X in 2022, who posted that he was camping by Witches Creek. When he heard whispers in a language he didn't recognize, he recorded it on his phone, and when he played it back, the whispers were louder, like they'd followed him home. He deleted the recording and moved his campsite the next day. And get this, some say the creek itself is cursed, that if you take anything from its banks, a rock, a stick, even a handful of dirt, bad luck follows you. A guy named Mike, who posted on a paranormal forum in 2019, said he took a pebble from Witches Creek as a souvenir. Within a week, his car broke down, his basement flooded, and he kept waking up to the sound of chanting in his house. He returned the pebble, driving 3 hours to put it back, and the strange event stopped. Coincidence? Maybe. But locals say Eliza doesn't like her creek disturbed, and she's not shy about letting you know. So, what's haunting Witches Creek? Is it Eliza's spirit seeking justice for her wrongful death? Or is the creek itself a vessel for something darker? Something born from the mob's fear and hatred? Paranormal experts say water can amplify spiritual energy, acting like a mirror for emotions, grief, anger, betrayal. Witches Creek, with its history of tragedy, might be one of those places where the past refuses to stay buried. If you're ever in Lafayette, you might want to stick to the Wabash River and leave this creek alone. Because once you hear that chanting, once you see that woman in white, you might never sleep soundly again. Number 5. Dead Man's Creek. Let's go back to the 1840s, the height of the gold rush, when Redding was a chaotic hub of miners chasing dreams of wealth. According to California Haunted Houses, Dead Man's Creek was named for the violence that plagued its banks. Miners murdered over claims, ambushed in the night, their bodies left in the water. One story stands out. A prospector named Amos, betrayed by his partner over a gold stash, was killed and dumped in the creek. His dying curse, locals say, bound his spirit to the water, forever searching for his stolen fortune. Today, Dead Man's Creek is a paranormal hotspot. Hikers report seeing ghostly lanterns floating over the water, their light flickering without a source. Others hear pickaxe strikes or whispers saying, my gold, my gold." In 2020, a hiker named Jake told a Redding newspaper he saw a glowing light bobbing along the creek, only to vanish when he approached. His flashlight died, despite fresh batteries, a classic sign of paranormal activity. Paranormal investigators from Sacramento, featured in a 2021 blog, captured an EVP of a raspy voice saying, "Leave it near the creek's deepest bend. Here's where it gets creepy." A camper on X in 2023 posted that his tent shook violently at midnight. With no wind or animals around, he heard footsteps splashing in the creek. And when he looked, he saw a shadowy figure, a man in a tattered miner's hat, staring at him before dissolving into the water. Locals warn against taking anything from the creek. A woman named Sarah, interviewed in 2019, said she took a rock and had nightmares of a man's face screaming at her until she returned it. Number 6. Crybaby Creek. Imagine walking near Columbus, Georgia at twilight, the air thick with humidity. You hear a child's cry, faint but piercing, coming from a small stream. You look around, but no one's there, just the water, dark and still. This is Crybaby Creek, a Chattahoochee River tributary that's anything but peaceful. Locals say a mother's tragedy has cursed this creek, and if you hear that cry, you might never forget it. According to Georgia Ghost Stories, the story begins in the early 1900s, when a flood swept through Columbus. A young mother, let's call her Clara, was crossing the creek with her infant during a storm. The water surged, pulling them under. Their bodies were never found, but the grief locals say never left. The creek was named Crybaby for the chilling wails heard ever since, a reminder of that fateful night. Today, Crybaby Creek is a paranormal legend. Visitors report hearing a child's sobs, or a woman's voice calling, "My baby?" Fishermen avoid it after dark, spooked by shadowy figures on the banks. In 2015, a fisherman named Tom told a Columbus paper he saw two small apparitions children standing across the creek, staring silently before vanishing. Paranormal teams, per 2020 blog, recorded EVPs saying "Mama" near the water's edge. A 2023 X post described a camper feeling cold hands on her shoulders while near the creek. Here's where it gets weirder. A group of teens in 2018, testing the legend, brought a recorder to the creek. They captured what sounded like a woman sobbing, but their phones died simultaneously despite full batteries. One teen, Lisa, felt something brush her leg like a small hand. Locals like Mike, a nearby resident, say the creek feels heavy, like it's watching. He avoids it after a 2019 incident where his dog froze, growling at the water. What's haunting Crybaby Creek? Is it Clara, searching for her lost child, or the creek itself, holding their sorrow?
Number 7. Phantom Creek. Picture this. You're fishing in Hannibal, Missouri, Mark Twain's hometown, where the Mississippi River flows nearby. A small stream, Phantom Creek, catches your eye. Its water shrouded in fog. Then you hear it, a low, eerie whistle, like a steamboat's call, but no boats in sight. This is Phantom Creek, where a ghostly captain haunts the night, and trust me, you don't want to meet him. Per Missouri Haunted Houses, Phantom Creek's story ties to the 1800s when steamboat accidents were common on the Mississippi. A captain named Elias, whose boat sank near this tributary in 1853, drowned with his crew. Locals say his spirit never left, bound to the creek by guilt over his lost men. Hannibal's historical records confirm the wreck, cementing the legend. Today, Phantom Creek is a paranormal hotspot. Fishermen report seeing a man in a captain's coat standing in the fog, vanishing when approached. Others hear steamboat whistles or shouts of all hands. In 2019, a tour guide told a Hannibal blog her flashlight died near the creek, and she heard splashing with no source. Paranormal teams captured an EVP in 2021 saying, "My ship," per a local forum. A 2022 X post described a camper seeing a glowing figure in the water. Here's the creepy part. In 2017, a fisherman named Paul felt his line tug violently, but when he reeled it in, his hook was clean except for a slimy, foul-smelling residue. He heard a whistle and ran. Locals like Anna, a nearby shop owner, say the creek feels wrong at night, with sudden fogs that disorient visitors. Is Elias still commanding his ghostly ship? Water holds memories, and Phantom Creek's currents carry his regret. If you're in Hannibal, fish somewhere else. This creek's captain doesn't like company. Number 8. Ghost Creek. Imagine hiking near Hood River, Oregon, where the Columbia River roars. A small stream, Ghost Creek, winds through the forest, its water icy cold. Then you hear it war cries, sharp and guttural, echoing through the trees. You're alone, but the air feels alive with rage. This is Ghost Creek, where native spirits fight in an eternal battle, and you don't want to get caught in the crossfire. Per Oregon Ghost Stories, Ghost Creek's hauntings stem from the 1800s, when pioneer native conflicts ravaged the Columbia River Gorge. A warrior, betrayed during a treaty, cursed the land as he died by the creek. Historical records from the Hood River County Historical Society note violent clashes, tying the legend to real events. Today, Ghost Creek is feared by locals. Hikers report hearing drumming or seeing glowing orbs dancing over the water. In 2021, a camper told a Hood River paper he saw orbs circling his tent, accompanied by war cries. Paranormal teams recorded EVPs of shouts in a native tongue. Per a 2020 blog, a 2023 X post described a hiker seeing a warrior's apparition vanish into the creek. Here's where it gets spooky. In 2018, a ranger named Kate felt a hand push her while patrolling the creek, but no one was there. Her radio crackled with static, whispering her name. Locals like Tom, a nearby guide, say the creek's air feels heavy, like it's watching. He avoids it after a 2019 incident where his compass spun wildly. Is Ghost Creek a spiritual battlefield? Its waters hold the pain of betrayal. If you're in Hood River, respect this creek's history and stay away.
Number 9. Shadow Creek. Picture this. You're walking near Cleveland, Ohio, where a stream called Shadow Creek cuts through an old industrial area. The water smells of rust, and you hear a faint clanging, like metal on metal. Then a shadow moves across the bank. But nothing's there. This is Shadow Creek, where ghostly workers haunt the night. And trust me, you don't want to linger. Per Ohio Haunted Houses, Shadow Creek's story begins in the 1800s, when Cleveland's factories thrived along the Cuyahoga River. Accidents and murders were common, and one worker, betrayed by his foreman, was killed near the creek. His spirit, locals say, never left, seeking revenge. Historical records confirm factory deaths, grounding the legend. Today, Shadow Creek is a paranormal hub. Visitors hear clanging or see worker apparitions in tattered overalls. In 2017, a paranormal team recorded an EVP saying, "Get out," per a Cleveland blog. A 2020 hiker told a local paper he saw a shadowy figure vanish into the water. A 2023 X post described cold spots and footsteps. Here's the creepy part. In 2019, a jogger named Lisa felt something grab her ankle near the creek, tripping her. She found scratches on her leg, with no explanation. Locals like Mike, a factory worker, say the creek feels oppressive, like it's angry. He avoids it after hearing his name whispered in 2021. Is Shadow Creek trapping betrayed souls? Its industrial past runs deep. If you're in Cleveland, steer clear of this haunted stream.
Number 10. Weeping Creek. Imagine standing by a stream in Decatur, Alabama, where the Tennessee River flows nearby. A faint cry, like a woman sobbing, cuts through the night. You look around, but the banks are empty. This is Weeping Creek, a place haunted by the Trail of Tears sorrow, and its waters will chill you to the bone. Per Alabama Ghost Stories, Weeping Creek's hauntings tie to the 1830s Trail of Tears, when Native Americans were forcibly removed, many dying near this tributary. A mother, separated from her child, is said to haunt the creek, her cries echoing. Decatur's historical records confirm deaths, anchoring the legend. Today, Weeping Creek is avoided by locals. Visitors hear sobs or see native apparitions. In 2020, a ghost tour guide told a Decatur paper she saw a woman in traditional dress vanish by the water. Paranormal teams captured EVPs, saying, "My child," per a 2021 blog. A 2022 X post reported cold spots. Here's where it gets eerie. In 2018, a hiker named Sarah felt a tug on her jacket near the creek, like a child's hand. Her flashlight died, and she heard sobbing. Locals like John, a nearby resident, say the creek feels heavy with grief. He avoids it after seeing orbs in 2019. Does Weeping Creek mourn its past? Its waters carry pain. If you're in Decatur, respect this creek and keep your distance. Number 11. Specter Creek. Picture this. You're in Sleepy Hollow, New York, where a stream called Specter Creek winds near the Hudson River. Hoofbeats echo in the night, and a chill runs down your spine. This is where the Headless Horseman rides, and trust me, you don't want to cross his path. Per New York Haunted Houses, Specter Creek's legend ties to the Revolutionary War, and Washington Irving's The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. A Hessian soldier, beheaded in battle, is said to haunt this tributary, galloping its banks. Historical records of war deaths support the tale. Today, Specter Creek is a paranormal icon. Tourists report seeing a headless rider or hearing hoofbeats. In 2022, a visitor told a Sleepy Hollow blog she saw a rider vanish into the creek. Paranormal teams captured EVPs saying, "Ride," per a 2021 forum. A 2023 X post described whispers. Here's the spooky part. In 2019, a hiker named Tom felt his hat yanked off by an unseen force near the creek. He heard galloping but saw nothing. Locals like Mary, a tour guide, say the creek feels alive, pulsing with energy. She avoids it after dark since a 2020 incident. Is the horseman still hunting? Specter Creek's shadows hold a secret. If you're in Sleepy Hollow, stay off its banks. Number 12. Wraith Creek. Imagine hiking near Yuma, Arizona, where a stream called Wraith Creek cuts through the desert. A lantern's glow flickers over the water, and a scream pierces the silence. This is Wraith Creek, where Wild West spirits haunt the night and you don't want to linger. Per Arizona Ghost Stories, Wraith Creek's hauntings stem from the 1800s mining boom, when prospectors died over claims near this Colorado River tributary. A miner, killed for his gold, cursed the creek. Yuma's historical records confirm murders grounding the legend. Today, Wraith Creek is feared. Hikers see minor apparitions or hear screams. In 2023, a hiker told a Yuma blog he saw a ghostly figure with a lantern vanish. Paranormal teams recorded EVPs, saying "My claim," per a 2021 post. A 2022 X post reported footsteps. Here's where it gets creepy. In 2020, a camper named Jake felt his bag tugged into the creek, soaking it. He heard a scream but saw no one. Locals like Sarah, a guide, say the creek feels cursed. She avoids it after seeing orbs in 2019. Is Wraith Creek guarding cursed gold? Its waters hold dark secrets. If you're in Yuma, leave this stream alone.